Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Between Two Worlds. As usual, I am your host, Annika, and on today's episode, we are going to get into glamour magic. While this is something I have been keen to talk about, I honestly just cut my own bangs the other week, and well, the timing seems to work out, right? As it always does. And well, we might get a little bit personal in this one. I am not sure why, but I honestly did feel called to talk about this. You know, as anyone does, I have gone through phases of fighting insecurities and confidence throughout my life. And while I'm not one to be scared of changing how I look, I started to realize that I can use it as a tool to work through those feelings. I guess I became self aware with the fact that even though I might not change how other people look, talk, or perceive me, I could control, or at least learn to control the lens I saw myself through. And in turn, it changed everything else. So, like I said, I went ahead and I cut bangs. I, I have had bangs before, but it was a really rough time in my life when I had them. And I look back at those pictures, and honestly, I kind of just started to feel disgusted. And it just reminded me of a really hard time in my life. So I decided to reclaim it. This time around, while it may seem impulsive, it certainly was not. Feeling low on the self esteem chart, I realized I depend so much sometimes on how I look, and that determines how I feel. So I honestly wanted to lean into that even harder and just do something that would make me feel even more uncomfortable and force me to love myself through it. And of course, I am beginning to love myself in new ways with the little hairdo, and I'm glad I did it. But as a witch, this got me thinking on a deeper level on how we can not only manipulate energies, but also become these sort of shapeshifters through it. And that leads me to glamour magic. There are so many levels to this other than just simple attraction spells. So honestly, there are kind of two trains of thought here for me. There is a paradox between glamour magic and authentic truth. Sometimes we are afraid to lean into glamour magic because we might be afraid that it is inherently bad to manipulate energies surrounding things like looks and attraction, but also how glamour magic can empower the authentic self. So, to begin with the latter, there was, at least for me, a time in my life where I felt disconnected from my desires and, well, struggled to express them authentically. So, societal expectations obviously can create shame, guilt, and even confusion around desire, and even more so if you have religious conditioning. Glamour magic isn't about superficial attraction, but about empowering yourself to pursue your authentic desires in a way that aligns with your values. So, back to the personal side, like I said before, how I learned, or more so forced myself to lean into these insecurities and push myself into these uncomfortable boxes. In the end, it grounded me more. I changed my hair, my fashion, my makeup. I honestly kind of went very avant-garde throughout high school and became more or less addicted to see where I could push myself next. Yes, to others, I was literally probably the most fucking weird kid ever. One day I had bleached brows and trench coats and big boots or graphic liner and excessive jewelry or even very minimalist the next. I was experimental to say the least. Extremely experimental. And while it made me stand out even more than I thought I did in the beginning, I leaned into feeling it, feeling like I was called out just for being different from the rest. And I, in turn, became more confident with what I liked, what I didn't like, and really, I became more aware that I could actually pull off a lot more than I thought I could. And it was a challenge for me to set up this, well, challenge, then overcome it. The conventional understanding of desire is often distorted by religious and societal programming that equates it with sin, selfishness, or a lack of control. This can lead to suppression, denial, or unhealthy manifestations of desire. Witches understand something that mainstream culture often misses, and that energy is fluid, and our ability to shapeshift energetically is not just a skill, but it's our right, and we can learn to do it really fucking well. It is the ultimate archetype of the enchantress, right? You do a spell to get the job, the house, to stand out at the party, or create a magnetic field of attraction around a love interest. but also for ourselves. Many of us might be taught to suppress or deny desires in order to be viewed through a lens of good or virtuous. This creates cycles of shame and honestly self-sabotage. Authenticity isn't about denying your desires, but about aligning them with your values and acting on them with intention and integrity. Glamour magic can be a powerful tool for clarifying and embodying your authentic desires and releasing them with the strength that is within. So, desire alignment is a foundational concept for authentic glamour magic. It helps practitioners move beyond both religious shame and superficial attraction techniques. It is the practice of bringing your glamour work into harmony with your authentic needs, your values, and your longings, really. It's not about manipulating others or creating this false persona, as many might think. It's about creating clarity around what you truly want and aligning your magical and mundane presentation to manifest those desires. The first component of desire alignment requires brutal honesty with yourself. So ask yourself, what do you truly desire? Now, what have you been told to want? Not what would make others happy or what does your soul long for? This is where maybe personal childhood traumas or religious traumas might create the deepest distortions. Many traditions teach us that desire itself is problematic, wanting is sinful, that longing is attachment, that craving leads to suffering. These teachings often had control as the true purpose, especially for women and marginalized people. In desire alignment, we recognize that desire itself is neutral, just like magic. It's even sacred. It's the compass that guides us toward expansion and fulfillment. The key is distinguishing between conditioned desires and authentic ones. Once we've identified our authentic desires, desire alignment requires us to construct an ethical framework around them. This isn't about judgment or limitation, it's about ensuring our glamour work serves our highest good and respects others' autonomy. Unlike manipulative attraction magic that seeks to override others' will, which, trust me here, I am not throwing off the table, but I do trust as seasoned practitioners, you can use your own discretion for such magics. However, aligned glamour enhances your natural qualities and energetic signature to attract those who are genuinely compatible with your authentic self. So, in practical terms, this means your glamour work focuses on amplifying what's already within you, not creating a false persona, attracting opportunities and connections that serve your growth, respecting boundaries and consent in all interactions, creating mutual benefit rather than exploitation. And so the third component of desire alignment is creating coherence between your energetic signature and your desires. Many practitioners create glamour workings that actually contradict their deeper desires because they haven't done the shadow work. For example, someone might perform glamour magic to appear more confident or authoritative at work, but their deeper desires actually create a freedom rather than corporate advancement. There will be an energetic disconnect that undermines their magic. When your glamour energy is in coherence with your authentic desires, this is where you create a powerful magnetic force. There's no internal resistance or contradiction weakening your work. The ultimate power of desire alignment is that it uses this authenticity as a vehicle for manifestation, rather than creating an illusion to get what you want. You're becoming more fully yourself to attract what truly aligns with your soul's purpose. This is where glamour magic transforms from a seemingly shallow practice into profound spiritual work. When we align our desires with our presentation, we're not just changing how others see us, we're changing how we see ourselves. And it's within that internal shift where the true magic happens. And as witches, we have this unique advantage of understanding energetic shape shifting. That's really what I think of it here. Desire alignment harnesses this advantage, right? By teaching us to shift, not into false personas, but into the most authentic expressions of ourselves. Think of it this way: we all contain multitudes. You might be both nurturing and fierce, both analytical and intuitive, structured and spontaneous, So, desire alignment helps you identify which aspects of yourself to amplify in different contexts to manifest your authentic desires. This isn't about being inconsistent or inauthentic. It's about recognizing your wholeness and consciously choosing which facets of your true self to express based on your desires and goals. This experience honestly made me wonder. And that is where our pretty little paradox sneaks in, right? Is there an inherent contradiction between glamour work and authentic living? Are we being fake when we use magic to enhance our appearance or presence? Or is there something deeper happening? I know many of you have probably heard criticisms of glamour magic. Even within magical communities, it's often dismissed as superficial, vain, or manipulative. Some spiritual paths even suggest that any attempt to alter your appearance is somehow dishonest or less spiritual. But after some 10 years, gosh, now of practice, and especially after working through my own religious trauma and, well, insecurities, I've come to see glamour magic is a completely different light. What if the paradox itself is an illusion? What if advanced glamour magic or glamour work isn't about deception at all, but about revealing and embodying your most authentic self? So now we are going to explore what I like to call the authenticity paradox. We'll dig into why traditional definitions of authenticity might actually be holding us back. I want to talk about how religious programming and societal conditioning create artificial boundaries between our real selves and our enhanced selves. And most importantly, I'm going to definitely talk about more practical techniques to develop glamour practices that actually strengthen rather than compromise your authenticity. So, the first problem here we need to address is our rigid understanding of what authenticity even means. Many of us, especially those who've grown up with religious backgrounds, have been taught that authenticity means just presenting yourself exactly as you are, unaltered, unfiltered, and unchanging. There's this belief that your real self is some fixed entity that exists separate from your choices and expressions. This idea is not only limiting, it's fundamentally inaccurate. Humans are dynamic. We are ever changing beings. We contain these multitudes. The self isn't a fixed point, but a continuous, evolving process. When we practice glamour magic, we're tapping into the ancient tradition of transformation that our magical ancestors really have always known. The first time I remember I went out after performing a glamour ritual, I felt vulnerable, but also strangely powerful. What surprised me was how people responded, not with the judgment I feared, but the fascination and the respect. By owning this part of myself that I had been hiding, I was actually presenting as more authentic, not less. And over time, something even more profound happened. My internal relationship with this feature I was trying to enhance or overcome completely transformed. What began as an external glamour became an internal truth. The breakthrough moment for me came when I realized that authenticity isn't about being static or natural, it's about the alignment. It's when your inner self, your values, your desires, and your outer expression are in harmony. Glamour magic, when practiced mindfully, becomes a bridge between your inner knowing and your outer showing. This is so different from how many of us were conditioned to think about self presentation, right? Many traditions teach us that focusing on appearance is vanity. Not even traditions, it's just kind of like a societal thing now. Enhancing your presence is pride, that consciously affecting others is manipulation. But these teachings often serve to keep people, especially women, queer folks, and others, small and disempowered. I want you to consider what if glamour magic is actually a form of radical honesty? What if it's about removing the barriers that prevent your true essence from shining through? What if it's not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more fully yourself? Instead of thinking of glamour as deception, I've developed this sort of framework I call intentional self projection. This approach completely reframes glamour magic as a conscious choice about how you channel and direct your energy in the world. Intentional self projection is fundamentally different from both putting on a mask and just being yourself. It acknowledges that we're constantly projecting energy and making impressions, whether we're conscious of it or not. The only question is whether we're doing so intentionally. Unlike the conventional approach to glamour, which often focuses on hiding perceived flaws, intentional self projection is about amplifying inner qualities that may be struggling to find expression. It's about creating congruence between your internal landscape and your external projection. This approach is especially powerful for those recovering from religious trauma, childhood trauma, really any sort of background that you have when it comes to the glamour world. So many of these traditional religious teachings really instill shame around self expression and deny our inherent multiplicity as beings. They teach us that there's only one acceptable way to be, right? And anything else is sinful or just wrong. So, this intentional self projection reclaims our right to explore the full spectrum of our being. It really just honors the fact that we contain these many facets, many energies, and many potentials. And all of them are valid expressions of our authentic self. When we practice glamour this way, it becomes a tool for self actualization rather than fabrication. It allows us to move beyond these limitations of conditioning and these traumas to express parts of ourselves that have been suppressed or neglected. And as witches, we have this advantage in this work because we understand energy on a deep level. We know how to sense it, how to direct it, and how to transform it. Our magical training gives us tools that most people, don't have access to. The ability to consciously shape our energetic signature, which is across cultures and throughout history have developed sophisticated systems for working with personal energy and presence. These aren't just superficial beauty spells, they're complex magical technologies for influencing perception and projecting power. Honestly, what I love about studying these historical methods is that they validate what many of us instinctively already feel. Glamour magic isn't some modern, shallow invention. It's an ancient and respected branch of the craft with deep roots in multiple traditions. You know, now that we've dug into all this philosophy and psychology behind glamour magic, let's start to talk about this. Let's ground into something tangible, something witches have actually been doing for centuries. Because here's the thing, glamour magic isn't some new invention or something shallow we made up recently. This stuff goes way back. I mean, when I first started studying different magical traditions, I honestly was blown away by how seriously glamour work was taken historically. These weren't just beauty tips, like bathe your face in rose water and goat's milk. These were sophisticated magical systems for working with personal energies. Take Norse tradition, for example. They had this concept called hamingja, basically your personal luck or spiritual force. And they understood this wasn't just something you were born with. You could work with it, enhance it, project it. They especially loved amber for this. They'd wear it during important interactions because they believed it captured and amplified your personal power. Honestly, I still keep a piece of small amber in my pocket for any situation where I need to really show up with confidence. Also, I really love amber, like true amber as just a perfume. But there is also Mediterranean traditions with the whole concept of the evil eye, which I'm sure you have heard of, and protective glamour. When people used kohl around their eyes, it wasn't just makeup, it was a magical protection that simultaneously enhanced their gaze and shielded them from harmful energies. I honestly love this dual purpose, this enhancement and protection at the same time. That's what authentic glamour should be. What really connects with me, though, are the African diaspora traditions, where there isn't this separation between personal appearance and magical practice. The deliberate use of color in clothing, jewelry, adornments, it's all understood as a way to attract specific energies and influence how you're perceived by humans and spirits. When I first learned about this, it was like honestly something clicked for me. Like, oh, my appearance isn't separate from my magic. It can be my magic. And then, of course, there's plants. Of course, I could talk about botanical glamour correspondences all day. And my first one on the list is rose. Is probably the most obvious one, and I have always been so attracted to especially red roses. They are by far my favorite flower, but there's a lot more to it than just roses equal love and beauty. Rose connects with the heart energy and self-love, which is the foundation of authentic glamour. And rose water is literally one of the oldest glamour tools in existence. And something really special to me is, well, my late abuela would sit with us in the garden or anywhere really. We would walk, and on top of identifying all the plants and the wild herbs and the healers, she would have us taste them and gather them. My siblings and I distinctly remember when we moved into a new house, we had lots of rose bushes in our front yard. And she said, "Oh, look how gorgeous they all are." And she knew their names and sat down and just watched. And she picked the petals and she had us eat them. Seriously. I remember my little brother looked at me kind of like, is this okay? And I took it and I nodded and I ate it with him to make him feel better. But of course, I did it too. And I just remember the astringent feeling of the rose oils as I chewed, and the bitterness started to calm down quickly into a soft sweetness. I'll keep a small spray bottle of it on an altar or on me and use it before important events, or now really just to feel close to my abuela. But besides rose, there's also cinnamon, which I'm sure, or at least you should have, which shows up in glamour formulas across cultures. It heightens personal magnetism and it creates this warm, approachable energy. It's particularly good for professional settings where you want to both be respected and liked. I've actually tried adding like a tiny pinch of it to my face powder that I set my face with before big meetings, and I swear people respond differently. I also have used cinnamon for a long time in my loose dry shampoo. Honestly, just trust. I don't even need to explain. But also vanilla. Vanilla is another fascinating one. It creates this energy of both comfort and desire, helping people feel at ease in your presence while also finding you somehow irresistible. What's interesting is how it works on this subconscious level. People often can't identify why they're drawn to you, but they really just are. She's just that girl. Okay, and then there's vervain. And vervain is a little bit less well known, but also very powerful. It's been called the enchanter's herb since ancient Roman times. It especially enhances verbal glamour, your speaking presence. And then there's Damiana, which works on this deep level to release shame around sensuality and self expression. For those of us working through traumas around our bodies or appearance, it is incredible. It helps reconnect you with your natural sensuality and your confidence. You can work with these plants in so many different ways, right? There's oils, there's baths, or even infusing your makeup with them. One of my favorite simple glamour oils is just rose petals, a small cinnamon stick, and a vanilla bean and sweet almond oil. Make it during a waxing moon, let it infuse for a lunar cycle, strain, and dab it on your pulse points. It's very subtle, but it's effective. Incense is another huge part of traditional glamour work. It's brilliant because it works on multiple levels simultaneously. The smoke physically changes how you appear by softening and diffusing light, while the scent affects the limbic system of anyone in your presence. Honestly, I also find it has an interesting way of attracting spirits to the party. They will all sort of start to come out and wonder what's going on and want to be a part of it. Um, so some combinations I've found particularly powerful is, of course, dragon's blood, sandalwood, and rose. This creates a commanding presence that still feels approachable. Frankincense, myrrh, and vanilla gives you this mysterious, spiritually tuned glamour. And copal with orange peel and cinnamon creates this energetic, creative, and magnetically attractive presence. One of the simplest techniques I've used is passing my clothes through incense smoke before wearing them. Just visualize the smoke imbuing the fabric with your intended energy. I do this before public appearances or even dates with my boyfriend, and there's something about how the subtle scent becomes a part of your entire aura that's just really powerful. But what I really love are the specific techniques from different traditions that you can adapt, like the Italian concept of bella figura. It goes way beyond just looking good. It's about presenting your whole authentic self to the world. In traditional Italian witchcraft, they would stand before a mirror at dawn using the first light to illuminate their true beauty while speaking affirmations. Or Greek charisma rituals they used to enhance charisma through specific jewelry, particularly with amber, carnelian, or gold, charged under certain lunar phases. In Hoodoo tradition, there's crown work. They see the head as the seat of personal power and perception. So, magical oils are applied to the crown of the head to influence how others perceive you. I've experimented with all of these and with making a simple crown of success oil with sunflower oil, cinnamon, bay leaves, a tiny piece of pyrite, and just 3 drops on the crown of your head before important meetings or events. Then there's the Celtic tradition of glamour bags, small pouches with specific herbs, stones, and personal items. I love how personal these are. You can really start to adapt this and you can select herbs and stones that align with the qualities that you want to project and add something that symbolizes your authentic self and carry it with you. What strikes me about all of these diverse methods is that none of them are about deception. They're all about amplification of true qualities and protection of personal energy. That's the heart of authentic glamour work. And mirror work also shows up consistently across all glamour traditions, and for good reason. It's where we literally face ourselves and work with our reflection. I've developed my own mirror ritual that combines elements from several traditions. I have a special mirror that I use exclusively for glamour work. I've cleansed it, then on a waxing moon during Venus hours, held it up to capture moonlight and consecrated it specifically for its purpose. Now, before important events, I can light a candle that corresponds to my intention, look into the mirror with complete acceptance, which was not easy at first. And as I apply makeup or adjust my appearance, I state aloud what each element represents, just as you give your correspondences their assignment or their jobs in spells or making any other powder or oil. What's often overlooked is in modern glamour practice is the protective element, right? Historically, glamour magic always included protection because practitioners understood that when you enhance your presence, you also potentially attract unwanted attention or energy, especially around other practitioners who have the capability to thieve energies. I've experimented with wearing jewelry with reflective stones like hematite or polished obsidian when doing glamour work in potentially draining environments. I also visualize what I call a glamour shield, which is like an energetic barrier that allows my authentic projection out while preventing others from draining my energy. But you know what? Glamour magic doesn't have to be complicated or require elaborate rituals. Some of the most powerful glamour work I've done has been incredibly simple, transforming my morning routine into a magical ritual, charging an accessory with intention, or just being conscious of the color that I choose to wear based on the energy I want to project that day. Well, I guess at least for my undergarments, because honey, I always wear black. But what I find most valuable about studying these historical techniques is the validation that glamour magic has always been legitimate. When we work with glamour, we're connecting to a lineage of practitioners who understood that personal presence is a form of power. By incorporating these elements into your practice, you're not just doing superficial beauty magic, you're tapping into ancient technologies for projecting authentic power into the world. You're reclaiming a magical tradition that has helped countless practitioners navigate social spaces, protect their energy, and manifest their desires through conscious self presentation. And honestly, that's what makes glamour magic so powerful for those of us dealing with traumas. We're not just making ourselves look better, right? We're reclaiming our right to be seen, to take space, and to have a presence and an impact. We're reconnecting part of our magical heritage that many traditions tried to suppress or dismiss as vanity. Well, I know this was a lot, and I definitely had a lot on my mind. And if you're thinking about just spontaneously cutting mini bangs, do it, honey, because I did. Well, anyways, I think that wraps it up for today's topic. And if you are a returning listener, I just want to take a second and I want to thank you personally. And if you are new, I do hope that you enjoyed and you choose to listen again or find my other episodes. Well, with that, wherever you may be on this earth, I hope that you have a wonderful morning, day, or night.